The planet Velthera glimmered beneath 3 suns, each one painting the skies with a different hue of gold, blue, and violet. Its cities floated above jagged crystal mountains, suspended by invisible magnetic currents. Rivers of liquid light flowed like veins through the cities, carrying energy that powered everything from communication hubs to defense towers. To the Veltherans, this world was perfect, but fragile. Their history told stories of destruction, of old wars, old enemies, and old mistakes that had left entire continents in ruin. And above all, their oldest stories spoke of a being who would appear in the time of greatest need, a human of legend, a figure lost to memory but alive in prophecy. The legends had survived for 1,000 years, whispered in palaces, schools, and temples. The humans, they said, had once walked among the stars, seeding life, spreading knowledge, and leaving behind artifacts of unimaginable power. Then one day they disappeared. Only stories remained. It was on the edge of the crystal dunes, far from the bustling capital, that everything changed. A small object fell from the sky, a bright streak of fire that tore across the horizon. It crashed into the dunes with a force that shook the ground. Clouds of fine crystal dust rose into the air, reflecting the 3 suns in dazzling patterns. The ground quaked beneath the city as Queen Sailira Vareth, ruler of Velthara, stood on the high balcony of her citadel. Her eyes narrowed. She was young for a Veltheran ruler, with silver hair braided around her head and eyes as sharp and blue as the river lights below. "Report," she demanded. A flurry of guards and messengers arrived. "Your Majesty, a ship or something fell from the sky. It crashed on the eastern dunes," said a general, bowing low. "We have dispatched scouts, but it is strange." Sailira's heart beat faster. Strange things in Velthara usually meant danger, and danger for the queen often meant the prophecy. "I will see this myself," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "Prepare the sky chariots." I go. The journey across the dunes was long. The ground shimmered with heat waves from the 3 suns, and the air smelled faintly of ozone and crystal dust. When the queen arrived, her elite guard surrounded the fallen object. At first it looked like a small twisted craft, burned and cracked from the heat of re-entry. But moving closer, they saw a figure, an injured human male, lying unconscious among the broken pieces of his ship. He was strange, smaller than most Veltherans, his skin a soft shade of bronze, hair dark and messy, his face marked with burns and scratches. But it was his eyes that caught Sailira's attention. Even closed, they seemed calm, filled with determination. The queen motioned for her healers to approach. "Bring him to the palace," she said. "I will see him alive." Inside the palace's healing chamber, the human stirred. His name, he would later say, was Captain Elias Kane, a lost explorer from the United Earth Fleet. His memory was foggy. He remembered a mission, a wormhole, and then nothing. Now he woke to strange beings, floating cities, and a sky with 3 suns. The healers worked carefully, binding burns and using crystal-infused medicine. When Elias finally opened his eyes, he saw a tall figure standing over him. The queen, radiant and commanding, gazed down. "You are alive," she said softly, almost to herself. "You are what the legends promised." Elias blinked. "Legends? I'm just a man." The queen's expression changed, her eyes wide. She stepped closer, scanning him. There was a mark on his hand, a circular scar shaped like a sunburst. It matched the symbol of the prophecy, a mark that had not been seen for centuries. "Your hand," she whispered. "It bears the mark. It is impossible. It cannot be. You are the human of legend." Elias did not understand. "I'm just Captain Kane," he said. "I fix ships, I explore. I don't know anything about legends." Yet actions spoke louder than words. When the queen's advisors brought him to the energy hall, where Velthera's main systems had been failing for decades, he was asked to examine the damage. Machines groaned, lights flickered, and the flow of energy through the city was weak. Elias touched the control panels, studied the ancient designs, and began to repair what no Veltheran had been able to fix. He worked with scraps of metal, crystal circuits, and tools that humans once carried. Slowly, the energy returned, flowing stronger than it had in centuries. The queen watched, silent. Her guards whispered in disbelief. The human moved with purpose, yet there was a calmness to him, a knowledge that seemed beyond understanding. "He manipulates energy like it obeys him," said one elder. "It is as if he speaks to the currents themselves." Sailira shook her head, trying to maintain composure. "No," she said quietly. "He understands it. That is different. Days passed. Elias learned about Velthara's people, their culture, and their history. The Veltharans were strong, disciplined, and honorable. But they had lost certain instincts humans once had, the ability to adapt, improvise, and inspire. And in him, they saw a spark they had only read about in myths. The queen herself began to visit him in private. "You do not know what your people did," she said. "You are supposed to bring balance to this world." "I'm just trying to survive," Elias replied, "and fix what I can." One evening, the queen led him to the Throne of Light, an ancient device from the first human expansion, a human-built AI that controlled Velthara's most powerful systems. No Veltharan had been able to activate it. Elias hesitated. The controls were alien, the mechanisms foreign. But when he touched the throne, the symbols reacted to him. Lights pulsed through his hands and energy flowed through the room. For the first time in centuries, the throne came alive. The queen gasped. "It's true, then. You really are the human of legend." Elias stepped back overwhelmed. I don't know what this means," he said. "I'm just trying to help." But Velthara itself seemed to recognize him. Ancient defense systems, dormant for centuries, flickered with life in response to his presence. Distant machines buried deep beneath mountains hummed as if acknowledging him. Even the stars above felt different. Elias did not yet understand that his arrival had awakened forces older than the Veltharan civilization. Forces that had been waiting for humanity's return. The Veltharans celebrated, but not without fear. Could this human, a mere stranger, really live up to the legend? And what did it mean for their future if he did? Elias, meanwhile, struggled with his own doubt. He had never been a hero. He had never imagined being part of a prophecy. Yet as he gazed at the crystal skies, he realized something. Perhaps legends were not born from might alone, but from courage, heart, and a willingness to act when all hope seemed lost. That night, as the three suns set and the sky filled with stars, the queen knelt before him not out of fear but in reverence. "You have come," she said, her voice trembling. "The galaxy has waited for you." Elias looked at her, humbled. "I don't even know where to start." And somewhere deep in the planet's core, the ancient machines whispered awake. A low hum vibrated through Velthara's mountains. Something vast, powerful, and long dormant had sensed the human. It had waited 1,000 years. And now it was ready. The legend had begun. The sun rose over Velthara's floating cities, painting the skies in brilliant gold and violet. The energy flows of the planet hummed stronger than they had in centuries, and at the heart of it all, in the palace of Queen Celira, Captain Elias Kane stood before the ancient throne of light, still awed by the power he had accidentally unlocked. He had repaired what no Veltharan could. He had awakened systems built by humans long before anyone alive today remembered their names. But with that awakening came consequences. "Captain Kane," Queen Celira said, her voice steady but tense, "your arrival has done more than heal our cities. It has stirred forces that have slept for 1,000 years. And now, our enemies are moving." Elias turned his head toward the skies. Distant fleets appeared, strange shapes gliding like shadows through the sunlit air. The Kith Dominion, ancient rivals of the Veltharans, had sensed the power awakening on Velthara. Their warships were designed for destruction, and they approached with a silent, ominous precision. "They think we are preparing to attack," Celira continued. "If they strike now, your systems could be used as weapons against us." Elias clenched his fists. He had not come to conquer. He had not come to fight, but he realized that to protect these people, he might have to use the very power he had unlocked. The Veltharan Council convened immediately. Generals, scholars, and engineers crowded the Great Hall debating strategy. Some wanted to strike first, others wanted to flee. Elias listened quietly, studying their technology and tactics. He spoke finally. "The systems I activated were not meant for war. They are meant for protection. If we fight wrong, we could destroy everything, including your people." The room went silent. The queen met his gaze. "Then what do you suggest, human of legend?" Elias studied the layout of the ancient defense machines. Hidden beneath the mountains and floating cities were colossal guardians. Massive constructs built to respond to human commands. "We need to take control of the planet's defense systems," he said. "But not to fight them. We need to show strength and control the situation, but without destroying anyone." Skeptics shook their heads. How can a human do what centuries of Veltharan engineers could not? one asked. Elias smiled faintly. Sometimes it's not about knowing every rule. It's about understanding the heart of the machine. And the heart of the machine is to protect life, not end it. As the Kith fleet approached, the skies filled with tension. Clouds of dust and light shimmered in the air. Veltharan soldiers prepared their ships, energy cannons humming, ready to defend their world. But Elias walked calmly toward the throne of light. He placed his hands on the ancient interface. Symbols pulsed in response to his touch. The energy of the throne spread through the palace, into the streets, and into the mountains where the hidden machines lay dormant. He closed his eyes. Images of Earth centuries past filled his mind. Humans exploring planets, building ships, creating cities among the stars. Humans uniting species, not conquering them. Humans learning, adapting, surviving. The message was clear. The humans of Legend did not rule through force. They inspired. They protected. They healed. When he opened his eyes, his voice carried through the ancient network, amplified by the throne and the planetary systems. I am human. We were never meant to conquer. We were meant to protect. Let this world be safe. Let no one be harmed, the machine stirred. Massive guardians, tens of meters tall, emerged from beneath mountains. Energy shields extended across cities. Communication relays projected warnings into space. The Kith fleet slowed. Their weapons paused mid-charge, confused by the sudden surge of energy and authority. Elias spoke again, this time in the ancient human tongue encoded in the system. The machines recognized it. They obeyed not a king, not a queen, not a general, but a human. Queen Celira watched in awe as the machines activated in perfect harmony with Elias's commands. Energy barriers rose around Velthara's cities, protecting civilians. Kith missiles were safely redirected into the void. Guardian drones scanned the skies, ensuring no ship was damaged unless provoked. By the stars, it is as the prophecy said, whispered one scholar. The human of Legend does not command armies. He commands life itself. But Elias was not finished. He knew that fear alone would not end the conflict. He had to communicate with the Kith fleet to show them humanity's way. He activated a universal transmission, one of the few things he had learned during his time in space. A message, simple and clear, projected across the void. We do not wish to fight. We do not seek conquest. We are here to protect life. Let peace guide your actions. For moments, the Kith commanders hesitated. They had never faced a power like this. Machines alive, shields unbreachable, and a human at the center of it all, controlling it with calm certainty. On the ground, Velthara's citizens watched in awe. People gathered in the streets, eyes wide as the floating guardians moved above, casting protective light. Children pointed at the sky, whispering stories of the human who had returned, the one their ancestors had called Legend. The queen turned to Elias. You have done what no one else could. You have saved us without firing a single weapon. Elias smiled. It's not about weapons. It's about showing the right path. Fear ends lives. Respect preserves them. And as he spoke, the Kith fleet, sensing the power and the resolve of the machines, slowly began to retreat. Their leaders realized that attacking Velthara now would be catastrophic. They did not understand humans, but they could feel the strength of purpose in Elias's actions. That night, the three suns set behind the floating mountains, leaving a sky full of stars. Velthara was safe. The citizens celebrated not out of obedience but out of gratitude and wonder. The queen knelt before Elias in the palace's central plaza. You have fulfilled the prophecy, human. You have proven that humanity's legend is true. Elias shook his head. I didn't do it alone. Your people helped. I just reminded everyone what humans can do, what we should do when it matters most. The palace doors opened wide, revealing the stars beyond. For the first time in centuries, Velthara's people felt connected to the universe, not as victims of fate, but as participants in it. The ancient machines, now fully awake, stood sentinel across the planet. They were no longer weapons. They were guardians, symbols of a time when humans had spread knowledge and protection across the stars. And in Elias they saw the spirit that had once guided them, courage, wisdom, and a heart that valued life above all else. Days passed. The Veltharans rebuilt, stronger and wiser. The Kith fleet did not return, deterred by the humans' presence and the awakening of the ancient guardians. News of the human of legend spread across nearby star systems, inspiring countless civilizations to believe in the power of cooperation, intelligence, and compassion. Elias stayed with Queen Celira for a while, helping her establish councils, repair broken technology, and teach the people strategies for defense without war. He became a teacher, an advisor, and a symbol, a living legend walking among those who had once only dreamed of humans. One evening, as the sun set, Celira turned to him. "Why do you stay? You could return to your world." Elias gazed at the sky. "Maybe someday. But right now, this world needed hope, and if humans can inspire hope here, maybe it will spread to others too. That's what our legend really means, not power, not conquest, but the courage to make things better." Celira smiled, bowing her head in respect. Then the legend continues, "Human. Because of you, Velthara will never forget what it means to survive and to thrive." And as the three suns disappeared behind the mountains, casting Velthara into twilight, Elias looked up at the stars and felt the truth of the prophecy settle in his heart. Humanity's greatest power was never in weapons or armies. It was in heart, courage, and the will to protect life. The galaxy had waited 1,000 years for the return of humans, and now it had one among them, proving that the human of legend was real, not through conquest but through compassion, wisdom, and hope.